BrightRock believes that with every change in life comes opportunity. The World Economic Forum puts change, its challenges, and its opportunities on a global stage. This World Economic Forum special edition BizNews podcast is illuminated by BrightRock, the first ever needs-match life insurance that changes as your life changes.
Paolo, how do I pronounce your surname?
Ardoino.
As a Chief Technology Officer of Tether, you've been in the news a lot over the last few days. I think earlier this week there was reports of how Tether, which is the biggest stablecoin in the world, had lost 10 billion, gone from around 80 billion down to 70 billion, roughly, rough figures. Is that accurate? Is that what's happened?
So losing is not probably the right word, in the sense that the work of a stablecoin is a sort of a cryptocurrency that is linked to a national currency. In the case of USDT, is linked to US dollar. So the job of a stablecoin is to take money in. So when someone wires you some money to acquire your stablecoin, you have to issue the stablecoin. You keep the collateral and the reserves, but also you have to give, when there is a redemption, you have to of course offer that redemption. So I think what happened is that the general market cap of crypto went down a lot, and so there was a lot of scare to the Terra Luna issue, and so part of the money went away from the crypto market. Being the biggest stablecoin in the market, we had to give liquidity back, and we have to give the money back, and because there were redemptions and they went out of the crypto market. In fact, you can argue that our biggest competitor only grew a little bit compared to the actual size of the redemptions, because those went outside of the crypto market, probably parking on the sidelines to wait for probably either the right times or just sitting on the bank and getting an interest.
So a stablecoin, from somebody who's not an expert, is a crypto that is 100% backed by fiat currency. Is that correct?
So there are different...
Sorry, your stablecoin. Let's forget about the others. Tether.
No. Tether is a stablecoin that is backed 100% by a portfolio of assets. Our composition of assets is public. So every quarter we provide an attestation. So we started providing attestation since 2021 that shows the breakdown of reserves. So the breakdown of reserves is basically the portfolio composition. So it's starting to be a little bit skewed on, we had cash, bank deposits, US treasuries, and commercial papers. We had really openly a bit of commercial papers, around 40 billion. And we heard the concerns of the community, although these were highly rated commercial papers, so A1 and A2 rated by Standard & Poor's.
What is a commercial?
It's a short-term loan. So we had this, and short terms means like between 0 and 3 months, or 3 months and 6 months usually, right?
And who's behind it? Was it bank paper or companies?
So we have a different, let's say, a different portfolio of a diversified portfolio of commercial papers, and the most important thing is the rating, right? So they are rated, if they are rated A1, and if they are rated A1, and A2 is A2, right? So we keep only A1 and A2 because of the importance of being liquid, right? So you can sell them. They first of all, they have a short expiry, and you can sell quickly in the market, and so on. So in
other words, if there are redemptions, you can quickly meet those redemptions.
Yes.
A bit like equity investors would put their money into money market funds. With crypto investors, they like to go into stablecoins. Is that a good description?
So no, people use stablecoins for different. So people use the stablecoins as just a currency, right? So stablecoins don't provide interest. So we earn interest as the stablecoin company, but we don't provide interest. So stablecoins are used to transact in different types of industry. Especially we as Tether created an entire industry of stablecoins in 2014, right? We were the first one. So we created the technology and so on. Now there are many competitors. But eventually these stablecoins started to have more use cases, but initially were the crypto trading. So if you are if you want to trade across different exchanges, and especially in cryptocurrency exchanges, you have to move quickly Bitcoins and dollars, because if you are arbitraging, you need to move Bitcoin and dollars pretty quickly. But if you have to move dollars between crypto exchanges, it takes 1 day or 5 days. So in order to move them faster, because you're in 1 day, even in 1 hour, but let's say in 1 day, your arbitrage opportunity is gone. So that's why the Tether team, the Tether was created to move dollars on blockchain. So you move dollars at the same pace of Bitcoin. So in 10 minutes, you can move dollars from one exchange to another, and you can do your arbitrage activity extremely efficiently. Nowadays, actually, the most interesting use case for stablecoin, that is what excites us, right? So we are the stablecoin most widely used in general in all the different aspects. But the most interesting, most important use case is actually the use case in developing countries and emerging markets. So if you go in Turkey, or if you go in Argentina, in Mexico, in Venezuela, you will find that you can use Tether and pay with Tether as a dollar everywhere, right? People take salaries in Tether and so on and so forth. Why? Because we all know what happens to their national currencies. In Turkey, the national currency, when their national currency devaluated 50% against the dollar in the Turkish lira in the last 12 to 18 months. So actually, Turkish users are using Tether almost as an investment, or is an inflation hedge, but for them is even investment, because it is something that they hold to as savings for them. And we, before coming here, we were actually in Oslo for the Oslo Freedom Forum, right? We were the only stablecoin called there, because
what is the Freedom Forum?
So the Freedom Forum is a congress, sort of, where journalists from emerging markets and the people living in those emerging markets and countries come and share their experiences to people like myself and others that are working in the crypto industry, but also in the communication industry and so on, to hear their voices, to hear their experiences. We had people coming from Senegal, they saying, guys, thank you, because in Senegal everyone is using Tether, or in Nigeria, because they are using it as a currency, because their national currency does not allow it. There is always, also emerging markets are made by people that also many times emigrate, right, to find better luck, and if they cannot immigrate, they at least want to help their children to immigrate, but they don't have a way to save money. They don't have a way to save money, because their national currency is devaluating. Hence, they cannot save enough or fast enough in order to create that future they want. So they are actually, if you check in Nigeria, Tether USDT is one of the most used currencies there, and the same again in Venezuela and so on. And
so it's a store of value.
It's a store of
rather
value.
than a transactive.
That is both, because also people like to accept Tether more than their national currency. So it's both, and the use case is growing by the day, and that's why we are pleased. I mean, that is why we think our work matters so much, because we believe that we don't see ourselves talking with the CEOs of the biggest bank of the world, or the prime minister or the financial ministers of the world, right? Our work is providing a tool to these people, and to provide a safe tool that you can rely on, as can allow them to send remittances. We have one of the biggest use cases of Tether is remittances. You have people working in Europe sending money at home, and they get a haircut of 17%, and that is unfair. And yet they can use that. They are using Tether to escape that enormous fee, because they work hard for that money. They of course want to keep the majority of their money that they are making for themselves and their families. So,
but this is a real attack on some extremely well entrenched vested interests. The people who take the 17% on the remittances, for instance, countries who have exchange control and don't want their citizens to judge them on the performance of the currency. If you have Tether worldwide, then you really are challenging some very powerful groupings.
But I think that is the most important. So if we are not creating technologies that are enabling freedom, right? What we are here about for, right? So we have seen that at the start of the war, of course, now there is in this period there is a big event, right? So there is a war that is a really sad event, a war between Russia and Ukraine. Just at the beginning of the war, Ukraine declared that they were interested to receive funding for their fight for freedom in 3 currencies: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tether.
Was there much contributed in that way through Tether?
Was much contributed, yes. I don't recall the numbers on top of my head, but there were many donations in Tether. And that again is a signal that what we are creating is a tool for freedom. And of course, freedom. Not everyone likes freedom, right? So it's not that you don't fight for it, right? So, Tether was accepted and adopted as only legal tender for the new NUG, that is the parallel government for Myanmar, right? The one that is in exile, and they had the problem. They were trying to fight for the freedom of their country, but they couldn't have bank accounts to receive help, and they decided to use Tether for that, right? So
you're an activist as well as being a technologist, because clearly what you're doing is opening up eyes, at least, to the reality that there is another way, that the old way of fiat currency doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a slave to it.
I think it's important. So, this entire movement of cryptocurrencies was born in 2008 as a sort of rebellion to the financial crisis. Definitely, I see. So I entered, at least in this industry, and also my business partners are in this industry. They keep working day by day, doing everything for the company and working hard, because it is important to many people. So that is the highest thing, the highest achievement that you can have in your life. Is money is not all about money, right? When you hear these people talking, you understand that you have been lucky your entire life. So that's something that, so if you are in a position where you can provide a better tool, something that they really desperately need for, it's I believe that everyone would do the same.
You are still tuned into the World Economic Forum Special Edition BizNews podcast, illuminated by BrightRock, the first ever needs-match life insurance that changes as your life changes.
It's a fantastic story, but it isn't one without its blemishes. I was looking through the US Commodities Futures Trading Commission fined you in October last year.
The CFTC.
The $41 million. I read what they said there, and they said that you hadn't been properly audited and you weren't giving the right statements, etc. What's your side of that story?
So we did 2 settlements, one with the New York Attorney General, and the other one is with the CFTC. So the CFTC, the one that you brought up, was, so they, so first of all, we settled without a mission of wrongdoing. And the issue there was that they claimed that Tether didn't have, the entire backing of Tether was not in bank accounts in Tether's name. And we explained why. In 2017, so first of all, their findings are related to until 2019, so mid-2019. After that, they didn't, although this settlement was in 2021, they didn't have any issues with our operations after 2019, or after half of 2019. We were open on why that happened. And in 2017, being a crypto company was really hard. You get banks accounts shut down and so on and so forth. So we had to use third-party payment processors, which we did use. And as soon as there were more regulatory framework that were also making the banking industry more comfortable in accepting customers as us, we just moved everything back to bank accounts. And we didn't have any issues since then. So definitely you are in a new industry, you are growing fast, And sometimes you get pushback from the traditional financial world, and we had a lot of that, not just as us as a Tether, but as an industry. And we didn't throw the towel. We kept going, and there were problems. We fixed them.
The last few weeks with the Terra and stroke Luna collapse must have been difficult for you. Again, you've been giving your messages out that Tether is stable. Are you through the worst of this now? The worst of the repurchases?
So, well, that's a good question, right? So Terra, first of all, was attacked, right? So someone was borrowing, we don't know whom, but someone was borrowing this Luna, selling them short in the market. And since Luna was the token was back in Terra, that caused a cascade, making the entire Terra UST stablecoin, quote-unquote stablecoin, crumble. Then we have seen clear signs of funds borrowing large quantities of USDT and try to short them in the market to cross.
That's Tether, USDT.
Yeah, Tether USDT, borrowing them and try to short them in the market to cause probably an additional crumble, or even to test us. You never know, right? So that happens normally in the traditional financial world, right? You try to either test or you try to make money on the short. So,
just for those who don't understand, short selling means selling in the anticipation that the price will fall, and then you can make money on it.
In their case, they were selling Tether below $1. And that is quite interesting, because then you create an issue on certain exchanges that don't have enough liquidity, so the price can go down. But actually, we redeemed $7 billion in 48 hours, right? So, and a bit more over the entire period was around $10 billion, right? When people saying to me, as you ask, right, was a difficult moment, I reply, no, it was not a difficult moment. There is a good reason for that, right? We have been, without hiding behind a finger, right? We have been in the news so much time. People were always questioning our backing and so on and so forth. And we provided facts. We provided the attestation. We provided everything, but almost in the last recent years, there was no institution or no company that had to prove in such a bold way that they were solid. So we are one of the few institutions that is able and has demonstrated publicly to be able to process 10% of their assets as withdrawals or redemptions. We are held to a much higher standard of a bank, and we proved that. And not only we proved that we are safe as a stable coin, but also that the banking system which we rely on is also safe. So for me is marketing, in a sense that we proved that there is no stable coin that was put through a bank run test like a scenario. And so we are the only one that can claim that they went through a potential black swan event and came back stronger, and show that actually all the allegations of, no, these guys don't have this guy don't have that, and so on, were false.
It's an interesting parallel that you draw there between a bank run and a black swan type of event of a bank run, because in the banking system in the world as it's currently constructed, a 10% withdrawal of deposits is too much. There's very few banks that can actually survive that. But is it over now as far as you're concerned? Are you seeing the repurchases from investors calming down?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, I completely agree that no bank, or almost no bank in the world, can process 10% of their assets in 48 hours. But also, it is we have seen now is flattening the curve, right? So you never know when this was an attack, right? So you can always have another attempt, right? So. But we are liquid, right? It's not that we finished our liquidity. We can go farther. So we are sleeping well, although we've been in 24/7 in 365 industry. We don't sleep much in general, but we know that we are solid. And if they try again, we will respond again.
I think it's important to make that point of you are a stable coin, which means that you're linked to the US dollar. So reading the Financial Times recent article on you, they were saying that you wouldn't disclose your portfolio, and yet you told me earlier that you do disclose it every quarter. What's the story there?
Okay, that's a really interesting one, right? So someone quoted me on the fact that I said, I don't reveal to you our secret souls. That was exactly in that interview, right? And what I was meaning to them is that they were asking us for the list of our counterparties. That is something that I feel is unfair to ask. Our portfolio, we don't say all the exact assets that we have in a portfolio, but we say the composition, we provide the risk factors, we provide the ratings, and so on. Also, we declare many times that we are happy to work and we expect to work with regulators around the world, because we have been called by Fitch, that is a rating agency, as the stablecoin that provides more information, all right, across all the industry. So, that we believe that this means that we are more transparent than others. And so we expect that there is a regulator that will tell us, okay, you have to give this, you have to provide that, you can have this, you cannot have that as your portfolio. That's fine. We need this type of regulations. But if I go in an interview with a journalist, and nothing wrong with journalists, but if they ask me to give, my contact list is unfair. Is also there are privacy concerns and so on. So if you want to know the people ask where the money is, right? If you go on Tether, on the Tether platform, you register, you do the KYC and ML process, and you want to acquire Tethers, you have to wire money, and you see exactly where you have to wire money. So there is no secret.
After the collapse of Terra, the call for regulation has been growing, both from outside and inside the industry. What's your view on regulation of the whole cryptocurrency space?
Well, I think that definitely cryptocurrencies have a really important role to play, as we spoke about in terms of freeing also people in many ways. But also it cannot be the Wild West, right? So with the Terra UST and Luna thing, many retail got injured, and that is not fair. Not everyone has the same level of understanding of the financial markets as maybe who is really deep into it. And so if you call something that is one of the most important thing to me is having the right categorization of stablecoins, because you cannot have a random guy that wakes up in the morning and create a cryptocurrency and market it as a stablecoin. Then we need a regulation that ensures that who calls something a stablecoin follows certain parameters. So regulation shouldn't hammer the technology, shouldn't prohibit the technology, but should provide a framework to use the technology and use it to enhance the lives of millions of people, but also in a controlled way.
Just to close off with, Paolo, how do you read the debate that's going on at the moment over crypto? We've seen Bitcoin halve in price, for instance. We've seen Warren Buffett call it rat poison, and his Charlie Munger, his partner, saying that was an understatement. How are you reading the future of crypto, given that you're so deeply invested in the space?
I think that definitely there are many people upset of a currency that they cannot control, right? I'm talking about Bitcoin in this case. I think that there is a lot of lack of education, there is bias, there is even greediness, right? So I think that you cannot dispute how this technology can be used for wonderful things. So considering it a rat poison is definitely something that shows the lack of understanding of and the potential of such important technology. Definitely, again, regulations should help to fix these issues that happen with Terra. And I think I forgot one of your points or questions.
No, it was really the future.
Yeah,
how do you see the future?
I think that the future will show how that Bitcoin will be adopted by more and more emerging markets. We are seeing at first Salvador, now the Central African Republic, and Mr. Bukele held a meeting with 44 people from central banks of developing countries, and and or head of states, right, in these countries. So it's clear that they are seeing El Salvador taking benefits, advantage of this new technology, and everyone start thinking, okay, why not us, right? And so I think it will grow and will grow in a regulated form. Eventually, all this crypto industry will merge, will be an asset class, right? And will merge in, will join the global regulations. But it's important that people that are in certain countries they can still rely on the fact that if they own Bitcoin, no one can take them away from them. So that's something that all the other things that we have in the traditional financial system cannot.
It's so interesting because the logical conclusion of El Salvador, Central African Republic, and were many other countries to follow them, would be they would replace the US dollar as the global reserve currency with Bitcoin. If the whole world were to use Bitcoin as their reserve currency, then clearly the US dollar wouldn't be it anymore. And that, I guess, is going to get up a lot of people's noses.
Well, but also even El Salvador, they are using Bitcoin as an option, not as a replacement. So I think that no one wants to replace the dollar. But we are talking about giving the optionality to people to use something else. And making legal tender means that it's like having another foreign currency. So if you go to Davos here and you buy something and you have a debit card in Japanese yen, your debit card provider will apply an FX rate, but you can still buy stuff from a grocery. And basically, what the government is saying is, please start accepting, equip yourself in the medium term to accept also this currency. So it's not a fight against the dollar. There will be always the need of a dollar, right? But there is also the need of something that is like gold. Gold is comparable to Bitcoin. So gold is scarce and is hard to extract, as Bitcoin is scarce and hard to extract. And till the last century, everyone was the gold was actually all the major national currencies were based on the actual amount of gold that you had in your reserves. So it's nothing new, and this is just a digitalized version of something that has the same property of the gold, and is something that can be moved more easily than the gold, and is an option.
Sorry, Paolo, I forgot to ask you a very important question. How do you make money? How does Tether make money?
Well, you have $70 billion in assets that now with and even before they were generating a small yield. Now more than before, but we are a lean operation. It's in a way even 20 basis point on the $70 billion, a lot of money.
Thanks for tuning in to this World Economic Forum special edition BizNews podcast illuminated by BrightRock, the first ever needs-matched life insurance that changes as your life changes.